The Russian president says that his country can easily make and deploy land-based intermediate-range missiles if the U.S. withdraws from a landmark nuclear arms control treaty.
The INF treaty acts as a stabilizing factor and works to maintain a certain level of predictability and restraint in the military sector. In case the treaty is broken by the United States, I have already said that publicly, and I believe it is necessary to state that again in front of this audience. We will have to take additional measures to enhance our security.
Vladimir Putin denied his country is in violation of the Intermediate-Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. The U.S. has accused Russia of flouting the nuclear pact and has threatened to pull out from the treaty. The INF was signed by Washington and Moscow during the Cold War. Tension over the issue has revived the specter of a new Cold War between the two sides. Jason Unruhe is a political commentator and analyst who joins us from Ontario. You know, this INF thing has so many dimensions to it, Jason Unruhe. Let's talk about why the U.S. first of all pulled out of the treaty and gave this 60-day ultimatum. I mean, what does it hope to achieve? We can see the reactions coming from Russia, obviously not something the U.S. had anticipated, or is it?
Well, I think that this is exactly what the United States wanted. As we have seen thus far with the presidency of Donald Trump, if the United States wants to do something, they're going to make up some excuse, some kind of political cover for doing it. They pulled out of the JCPOA agreement with complete lies about nuclear weapons having been under development. They ended the NAFTA treaty, claiming that it was exploitative to Americans. They ended the trade agreements with China, installing tariffs on various goods just so that they can try to write some kind of new deal, one that would be better for them. And I think it's symbolic since when Donald Trump was elected, he did say that he wanted to update the nuclear arsenal of the United States. He wanted to update the military. He gave the line that the military had somehow been gutted by the former President Obama. And I think that this is the exact thing that he was going to do to use as an excuse. We have seen this president lie time and time again in order to justify further action. So I think that this is no different in that regard. The United States wants to update to increase its military capacity in certain realms of technology, particularly with regards to nuclear weapons, missiles, etc. But they're being held back due to treaties that currently exist. So the political cover that the United States can give is just to simply allege that the other side has violated it without presenting any evidence thus far. There was no evidence of the violation of the JCPOA agreement. There was no evidence given of somehow NAFTA being exploited to the U.S., and there is no evidence in this case either. So I think this is part of the modus operandi of at least the Trump administration in this regard. I think that this was planned directly from the beginning, probably since Trump took office, probably spoke to many advisors and probably decided that this was the best way to go. It seems that the United States in this regard and thus far in the entire Trump presidency that they are going to do whatever it is that they want to do, and any standing agreements are not going to mean anything. This is probably the least trustworthy U.S. administration in modern history. The United States has chosen that it is going to upgrade its arsenal. It is going to further its military powers, along with many other new agreements that are currently underway, along with ideas along the line of AI technology. And this is the political cover that is going to use to justify it.
And how dangerous is it, however, when we look at the way that the U.S. is, in a sense, engaged in a militaristic approach when it comes to Russia, and also we can't forget to mention China. With Russia, especially with the situation in Ukraine, we could also mention Syria, and of course with China and the South China Sea crisis there.
I think that the United States very much knows that its power is waning in this regard. For too long, they have had a totally hegemonic position, and now there are the increasing powers of Russia and China, which are not only just rising as power themselves, but to challenge that of the United States, particularly in the Middle East, with Russia in the Syrian conflict and China in Africa. So I think that they believe that there's eventually going to be some kind of clash in the future between those who are challenging U.S. hegemony and those who are not. Now, for a long time, the U.S. has had a supreme military advantage over everyone else. Since at least the dissolution of the Soviet Union, they have been without challenger in regards to military technology. But that is certainly changing. China is investing more in defense abilities. Russia has been spending a great deal more. So there is a rising tension between all of these powers. And I think that is something that we definitely have to watch out for. I mean, that's why this agreement was originally signed, was to try to prevent military technologies from getting out of control, from things just spiraling into insanity. And I think that the U.S. has kiboshed that agreement because they see that people are now rising to challenge them. And this could very well break into another Cold War, something that the world does not want to see, that frankly no sane, rational person wants to see.
Thank you very much for that. Jason Unruhe, we appreciate it.